All right, let's talk about the Ambani family, a dynasty that is the absolute definition of extreme wealth, power, and, yeah, a whole lot of controversy.
So, what are we talking about in terms of money? Well, the family's net worth is somewhere around $120 billion, a number so big that spending $600 million on a pre-wedding party, complete with a private Beyoncé concert, is basically the equivalent of you or me finding some loose change in the couch.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that this isn't just some old money sitting in a vault. Nope, this empire is going head-to-head with global tech titans like Elon Musk, fighting for control over the future of the internet. So yeah, you might be paying your internet bill to an Ambani very soon.
So the question is, how on earth does one family from a tiny village build something this massive? To really understand their journey to becoming Asia's richest family, a story that really mirrors India's own economic story, we gotta rewind the clock, way back, about 100 years, to the guy who started it all.
It all began with the patriarch, Dhirubhai Ambani, a man who, and I'm not exaggerating, built his empire from almost nothing.
Dhirubhai's story is pretty incredible. He starts out in a small town, but his ambition was anything but small. As a teenager, he packs his bags and moves to the bustling port of Aden in Yemen to learn the ropes of commodity trading. He soaks it all in, then comes back to Mumbai in '58 with just a couple $100, ready to build his own thing.
And he operated off this simple but totally powerful blueprint. First, find opportunity in chaos. For him, that was India's messy textile industry right after independence. Perfect. Second, take huge but calculated risks. He famously stockpiled polyester when everyone told him not to, betting prices would swing his way. They did. And third, the masterstroke, vertically integrate. Basically, own everything from the raw materials to the final shirt on the rack.
His success became so legendary that it got woven into the story of modern India. I mean, when he passed away, he wasn't just seen as some rich guy. He was a national symbol of what was possible. But here's the thing about building an empire. What happens when you're gone? Dhirubhai didn't leave a clear will or a succession plan, and that lit the fuse for a massive family feud between his two sons. So after their father's death, the two sons, Mukesh and Anil, just couldn't see eye to eye. You had Mukesh, the Stanford dropout chemical engineer, and Anil, the Wharton-educated finance whiz. Totally different styles. The fighting got so bad that their mother had to step in and literally slice the empire in two. Mukesh got the stable, old-school businesses, and Anil got the flashy new ventures. And this is where their stories take dramatically different turns. While Anil's businesses started to fall apart, Mukesh was getting ready to make a bet so enormous it would completely reshape India and send his wealth into the stratosphere. He was thinking on a whole other level. He started with this giant question. In a country of over 1 billion people, with so many living in remote villages, how in the world do you bring everyone online with fast, affordable internet? His answer was one word: Geo. When he launched it in 2016, it wasn't just another mobile network, it was a bombshell. He offered data at prices that were so ridiculously low, competitors were left completely stunned. He just blew up the entire market.
The result was, frankly, staggering. In just a few short years, Geo signed up over 450 million subscribers. That's more than the entire population of the United States. He created one of the biggest mobile networks on the planet, almost overnight.
But this was so much bigger than just business. Think about the real-world effect. It brought online education, e-commerce, and digital entertainment to hundreds of millions of people for the very first time. It fundamentally changed how an entire society works.
This crazy growth made Mukesh the richest man in Asia, for sure. But it also put a harsh spotlight on the family's insane wealth, their cozy political connections, and the controversies that have kind of followed them for decades.
And you can't find a better symbol for this than Antilia. This is Mukesh's home. It's a $2 billion, 27-story personal skyscraper. It's got 3 helipads, a room that makes snow, and 600 staff. For one family. And it towers directly over some of Mumbai's most impoverished slums. The contrast is just jarring.
And look, throughout their rise, the family has been followed by some really serious accusations. We're talking about everything from manipulating stock prices back in the day to using political muscle to get around regulations, and even allegations of corporate espionage.
Critics often point to these things as classic examples of cronyism.
You know, that blurry, uncomfortable line where you can't really tell where a private business ends and the government begins.
And what about the two brothers? Well, this chart says it all. While Mukesh's fortune exploded past $100 billion, Anil's empire completely crumbled. He ended up defaulting on billions in loans and had to declare bankruptcy in 2020. Two brothers, two wildly different endings.
So now, the torch is being passed to a third generation, and the big question is, what's next for this incredibly powerful family?
The succession plan is already in motion. Mukesh's kids, like his son Akash, are already stepping into leadership roles across the whole Reliance empire, taking over critical parts of the business like Jio. The dynasty is getting ready for its next act.
Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. Remember Dhirubhai's masterstroke, vertical integration, owning everything from top to bottom? Well, with their deep political connections and their control over so much critical national infrastructure, you have to wonder, what's the final act of vertical integration? Is it merging their corporate influence directly with the fabric of political power? It leaves you with this one big question. What happens when a family becomes more powerful than the state itself?